Hi, this is Jeremy Kellett, Director of Recruiting here at Oakley Trucking, and I'm your host for this podcast. This is the Oakley Podcast, Trucking Business and Family, and we try to bring you some good stuff every week at this podcast. And on this episode this week, we are bringing you the safety department here at Oakley Trucking. We are going to take a dive into what's going on at Oakley Trucking in the safety department. First, we're sit down with Dustin Barnett and Carl Morrow, which is a new guy that's in the safety department here, maybe 6 months or so, but going to visit with them a little bit on their responsibilities, some of the things that they're seeing right now that's happening amongst the fleet, maybe some simple things that we can correct, but also address stuff like the CSA. We're talking about the vehicle maintenance and Hazmat. We're even going to get into the personal conveyance. Oh yeah, wait for that one. That's going to be good. So we're going to get their perspective on some stuff, speed enforced cameras in construction zones. So just got a lot of good stuff that I think sometimes we don't take enough time to really talk about safety like we should on this podcast. I tell everybody coming through orientation that you got to buy into two things to work at Oakley Trucking, and that's customer service and safety. And I know it's like, no kidding, Jeremy, we got to do this, but I think our safety department takes it to the next level to where we are going to be one of the safest companies in the business, and we do that by our owner operators taking care of us, and they know how to do it, and it's because of your day-to-day activities, your preventive maintenance, you're running the logbook, I mean, the ELDs, I mean, it's your experience driving all these million miles you guys have out there. Y'all are the ones that keeps this company going and doing it right. I just think we need to get a little more in depth with the safety department on talking about some of these issues that are coming down the road. I mean, and it's stuff that needs to be addressed. So appreciate y'all listening to this episode. So instead of, normally I do a Oakley update sponsored by Aero Truck Sales. I mean, this is the update. I mean, this is a safety update episode. We're just going to do the whole thing here. So there is no update on this episode. It's all about safety today.
Aero Truck Sales has been in business for over 60 years and a longtime partner of Oakley Trucking and the Oakley Podcast. Trey Visor and Keith Wilson do a great job at putting you in the right truck to fit your needs and our needs here at Oakley. They carry all makes and models to choose from with on-site financing through transport funding. So whether you're a seasoned owner-operator or a first-time buyer, be sure to contact Keith Wilson at Aero Truck Sales at 573-216-6047 and tell him you heard it on the Oakley Podcast.
Before we get started into it, though, I always like to you guys introduce yourself. Dustin Barnett, Carl Morrow, thanks you guys for joining me this afternoon. Yeah. I appreciate you getting it done, taking away from that desk down there and answering all those questions and putting out fires. I appreciate y'all doing it.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, you bet. Let's start with Barnett. You've been on here before.
Yeah.
Give us a little rundown of introduction, your history and your hobbies and family.
Yeah, I was thinking, Jeremy, this morning, I think this might be the 4th or 5th podcast that I've done.
Awesome. You're a regular.
Yeah. Last time we were up here, though, there was a table here, and we were sitting across the table from one another. So
yep.
I like the new layout.
We've changed it up a little bit,
Yeah.
And I really like it. We kind of got this idea from the truck show. We changed it when we went to the truck show in Louisville, and we did this. Man, it worked so much better, so we decided to do it here at the office.
No, it's good, but my name is Dustin Barnett, for those of you that haven't met me. I work in the safety department here at Oakley. This August will be 6 years now. My wife, Shanley, I have a 4-year-old son, Maddox, and we just celebrated his 4th birthday party over the weekend.
Wow.
So about 20 kids running around.
Yeah, I bet that was fun.
Yeah. As far as hobbies, though, I enjoy going to the lake. Having a 4-year-old, and it takes up a lot of my time. He's always wanting to get into something, so just cherishing those memories with him. And
that's a full-time job there.
It is, yeah, but I enjoy it. I'm cherishing those moments.
Carl, how about you?
Well, I got a fiance, Amanda, and 3 kids. It's a blended family. Cage, Frankie, and Madison. So 14, 13, and 12.
Busy household.
Yeah, very busy. It's never quiet at all. There's constantly somebody doing something, you know.
I bet. When'd you start Oakley?
Probably about 5 months ago.
Okay.
I don't know the date exactly, but
Yeah, I
about
knew it was
5
something like
months,
that.
Yeah,
It's going by quick, Carl.
it is. It goes
Doesn't
by
seem like
real
it's been
fast.
that long.
Yeah. Now, what do you do at Oakley?
I work in the safety and compliance department.
And kind of doing.
I do citations and inspections that the guys send in, stuff like that, and hazmat training. I'm starting to get into that. I'm going to take that over for JP.
You do a little orientation too.
Yeah.
Which is a big help. Big help on helping Randolph do some of that. So that's big and important. Give these listeners a little bit of your history, because I know I know what happened. You know, when you to get you over here 5 months ago, we were actually talking to you about becoming an owner operator.
Correct. Yeah.
Here because you were driving a truck.
Yeah. Actually, this has been 3 or 4 years ago. Y'all first talked to me, and I was working for U.S. Foods at the time, and trying to get me over here. So I finally took that step, and wanted to come over as owner operator, but y'all had different things for me then, so it was great. It worked out good. I worked for Brown Brothers for a long time. It was third party for Schlumberger. Started out as a driver there.
So how long you drive a truck?
13 plus years.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, I worked for them for a while, drove, became a lead driver, and then worked my way up into safety and compliance.
Yeah, so you had a prior office experience.
Correct.
That's
yeah.
right. That's right. I remember that.
Yeah. And our first office was in Conway. So, and then before it was said and done, we had offices in West Virginia, San Antonio, Oklahoma.
I think that's what it was when you came. You came down here to talk to me in person about becoming an owner operator, and we was looking at your application history, and I saw that you had office experience in safety and compliance, and we were at that time looking for somebody in safety. So, like, hey, look here, you just walked through the door.
Right. Yeah, it worked out. Yeah,
It worked out good.
Sometimes it works out that way.
Yeah. So, what do you guys? I know we got a list of stuff we wanted to talk about here concerning safety department and our owner operators and some other things. Where would you guys like to start? I don't know that we can get through all of it, but I know one of the top things here you was talking about congratulating owner operators for our decrease in unsafe basics. So, we want to start with CSA.
Yeah, we can start there. I first wanted to start just congratulating and thanking them for the drastic decrease we've seen in our unsafe violations that have come in over the last few years. Back in December of 21, just to kind of put it in perspective, we had a 75% in our unsafe basic CSA, which threshold is 60. So that started getting a lot of unwanted attention. So we sent out some memos just informing everyone of the score that we did have. And, excited to say over the last few years, it's dropped to a 27% in our unsafe. And, that's a tribute to the owner-operators.
That's what I was going to ask. What causes that big drop?
Well, there's a lot of factors. I think our owner-operators, when they hear that there is a problem, they're more apt to try to get it corrected. So I think that's one of the leads. We instituted a new dash camera, Netrodyne, which actually helped focus on some of those top offenders in the speeding, which put them kind of more at risk to be stopped.
So the unsafe, just to back up, there's 5 or 6 categories in the CSA, and one of them is unsafe category.
That's it.
And your unsafe violations are typically
speeding.
Speeding is the main
seatbelt. Is that kind of
cell
stuff,
phone
right?
use?
Yeah, cell phone use. Okay,
correct.
So that was high, which basically was speeding.
Yeah,
and then because of the cameras we installed, the forward-facing cameras has cut down on that quite a bit.
It has, and we know whenever we look at the data, we're just focused on those top offenders that are putting themselves more at risk. And after direct focus of that, and I know probably fuel had something to do with it as well, with the fuel prices increasing. You tend to see that fleet-wide drivers kind of lowering, their speed to try to get some more miles per gallon. So that was a factor. But, overall, we're just pleased to see it drop because it was, we did have so much attention getting drawn and phone calls around it. Because you have to think of what CSA and how it impacts the company and the driver. So first you have, of course, the DOT. So that's how they let the program determine who they're going to come in and audit. If you're elevated within that certain tier group, then, in their eyes, you're more at risk. So the DOT started getting traction of it. And then, of course, on any customer audit, we're hauling their freight, so we want to make sure, we're getting it there timely and safely. So customers look at that data. And then the owner-operators themselves, we're going to talk about it here in a little bit, but our vehicle maintenance category, I know Jeremy mentioned 5, but one of them is vehicle maintenance.
Let's just go ahead and discuss it.
That's nearing threshold. We're at a 74% and threshold at a 75%. So that affects all of our owner-operators. So next time you go to the scale, if we're over threshold and we're in that intervention stage, then that's when the DOT officer is going to start pulling you around and doing more thorough inspections of the equipment.
And why is our vehicle maintenance category going up?
Well, the top 3 categories that we're seeing is, number 1 is brakes. So we have 153 violations within the brake category. And then second is tires. We have about 61 violations in tires related.
Do y'all break that down between truck and trailer?
We do. We actually did that, Carl and I, probably a few weeks ago, just curious to see, and it's almost even.
Oh, really?
It was within a few percent of each other, but it was like maybe 47 and 50, or 47 and, the remaining, but
right.
53. But it was interesting to see that breakdown. It was pretty even.
A couple of months ago, I think our CSA score, we accumulated 216 points, and 149 of those were vehicle related. So over half of them were vehicles,
That was 1 month?
And that was 1 month. And it's increasing each month just by a little bit. So.
That, and your vehicle maintenance is brakes, tires, what else do you say?
Just anything vehicle related.
Those are the top 2.
Lights is the third one.
Lights.
Yeah, any lights that are out. But for brakes, I know it's kind of a lead-in as well, but that's why we wanted to sit down with you today to discuss the issue we're seeing in brakes, because you think 153 violations in just brakes alone, and the second one 61. So we have almost double the violations in one category, and that's brakes. A lot of those violations.
Was that from that brake? Did they have a test or a week they did brake checks? Or am I dreaming that up?
You're probably thinking ahead, because here in August of 20, or the 20th of August, there's a brake safety test week.
Okay, that's probably what I read. I probably read that in our notes, I guess. I was thinking that, okay. So, yeah. Oh, well, crap, that ain't good if they start looking for it now. Yeah, I mean, we've had a bunch here recently. Just for the lack of us checking our brakes, I guess. And they're saying the brakes are too thin, or what is it get any more
out of adjustment?
Out of adjustment.
Yeah,
that's what it is. It gets down to.
Yeah,
correct.
And there's several categories they can write them in the brakes, but yeah, Carl's right. What we're seeing is brakes out of adjustment, and for us going through orientation, we certify every owner operator to adjust their own brakes. So there's a station out there in the shop where they get their hands on and go through any questions they have in adjusting brakes. So we're doing all we can to try to train you accordingly. So it's kind of on the owner operator at that point.
Yeah, and that's coming up August the 20th through the 26th, brake safety week, and it's all brake related, I guess, violations that they're looking for. Well, we need to get a hold of that. Ahead of that game. Oakley Trucking is a 100% owner-operator company. We specialize in hopper bottom, end dump, and pneumatic trailers. We provide the trailer free of charge, and you provide the truck. We have a large customer base that reaches the whole United States as well as parts of Canada. Our owner-operators live anywhere from Texas to North Carolina to Pennsylvania to Wisconsin and everywhere in between, and we get them home weekends. We take it seriously when you join Oakley Trucking because we need you to be successful. Oakley offers great benefits and competitive mileage pay, so you know that when your wheels are turning, you're generating money no matter if you're loaded or empty. We understand that you want to make a good living and that you make our living. We only take on independent contractors, and to be honest with you, we are very particular on who we lease on. You must have a good driving record, good work history, and clean, dependable truck. So if you're interested in Oakley Trucking or just want some more information, you can go to oakleytrucking.com, listen to our weekly podcast, The Oakley Podcast, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Anything else on the CSA that we were talking about? Let's see, how our CSA points applied, citations versus inspections.
Correct, yeah.
Be sure to send your inspections or citations within 24 hours of processing. You want to elaborate on that, Carl?
Yeah, we would like them to send them within 24 hours so we can get them and process them, because we only have 15 days to process these citations, or inspections, I'm sorry, not citations. But, yeah, there is a difference between a citation and an inspection that they get, maybe a level 1, level 2, or level 3. Those level 1s, level 2s, and level 3s do go against their CSA score. They might not receive a fine for it, but it will go against their CSA score. But a citation they may get, or a warning, is just a ticket they have to pay. So it doesn't go against their CSA score. So there is some kind of confusion on that. But when they do get an inspection, it does hurt them for sure in their CSA score.
I thought the citation went on the CSA.
Not necessarily. I mean, they can just write you a ticket and not be associated with an inspection. Correct. Yeah.
I got you.
And a lot of those that we see, Jeremy, are kind of like these city ordinance citations, and you're in a small town and a city officer pulls you over and cites you for speeding in the town. Mm-hmm. They don't actually do an inspection of like a DOT inspection like you're thinking of. It's just kind of a city ordinance, and those never do show up.
But if the DOT man writes you a ticket and he did an inspection, it's probably on there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you can get, if they write it on the inspection form, they can cite you for it as well. Yeah. So that's kind of like a double whammy for them.
What was your thoughts, Carl? I mean, coming in here new, 5 months, and you learned about this CSA pay, your pay associated with CSA violations. I mean, you got a fresh look at it as a former truck driver. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
It's good for the company. It's good for the driver, It makes them keep up with their equipment because they get bonus pay for it, At the end of the day, that's a lot of money for them.
It's a lot of money.
So
are the guys, are they realizing that?
Yeah, you kind of got to break it down for them sometimes to let them know, hey, look, this is what you lost out on because of this inspection. And then they turn around and say, oh, wow, I'd rather him write me a citation for it than inspect my truck. So it does happen.
Well, it's safety is a top priority. And I think when you associate a man's money with it, you get their attention real quick on it and how important it is to us as a company too. But, I mean, the majority of the owner-operators here do it right?
They do, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a small percentage of the company that, of some owner-operators that don't do it right all the time.
Yeah, there's 67% of the fleet have a 0 CSA score. Currently.
Yeah.
So you look at the other 33%, and 17 of that is within the 1 to 15 point category. So
not much.
Not much. So you used to think anything 16 points and greater. Usually those stops that we're seeing, a lot of these points, it's not just one defect that's found, it's multiple. And that's kind of what's hurting that vehicle maintenance at the moment.
They find something and then, let's look for more.
Mm-hmm. I've seen them high as 66 points.
In one stop?
In one stop, yeah.
Mm. Well, it's not going away. They're going to look for everybody, and it's just like if you get that red flag over the threshold in one category, then it's just going to throw a red flag up to stop in all of Oakley owner-operators, all their drivers, and the pre-pass goes red, come in, instead of green, and here they go looking. But if we stay under that threshold, and we're looking good in all categories, and it's a lot smoother.
Yeah.
So
it is.
what else? Let's see. Hazmat best practices. Share the top violations we are seeing in this category. I know that hazmat has been, we've talked a little bit about that here lately. That's kind of been a topic. What's going on with hazmat?
They're placarding. We're having issues with placards falling off the truck or coming out of the holders, and them not noticing it. So the DOT officer sees one placard and then he goes around the side and don't see the other one. He's probably going to pull him over and do an inspection on him. And we're seeing cases with that. Damaged placards not being in the right spot behind handrails or something. So we've seen those.
So we've got the holders on the trailers, right? Everything we need?
Yeah.
And don't they give you the placard that you need when you load at the facility?
Correct.
Or do our guys have some in their truck?
So they're supposed to, where we're picking up at, they're supposed to give them the placards. That's the practice. And the driver matches that placard number up with the shipping paper to make sure it's correct. And then he puts them on his truck. And we're seeing sometimes, they're not hauling hazardous material all the time. So they might not haul it within 6 months. And then all of a sudden they've got a hazardous load they got to haul. So they may forget to stop at a railroad track where they're supposed to,
We have that happen.
We have,
Yes.
recently.
Yeah, we just don't do very much of it. So it really, I could see where they creep up on a guy and he's not used to doing it. And then 6 months he does a load and all of a sudden he forgets what he's got back there.
Yeah.
And you got to do things different. What else you got to do different if you're pulling a hazmat load besides stopping at the tracks?
You can't go through tunnels. You got to route yourself around tunnels. You can't go through major cities unless you're not if you're delivering there, you can. But you got to go around major cities for sure. And we've had a few of those too.
Have we?
Yeah. They got to make sure they have their emergency response book within reach while they're in their seatbelt with their shipping papers.
Man, so we've been written up on some of that stuff.
That's our second one. The placard's number one. Them not having their emergency response book is number two.
Okay.
So
everybody listening, make sure you got the placards. They stay on the trailer, and you got the book handy.
correct.
Yeah, and a good practice, too, if you're able to ask the customer for maybe one or two extra, if they're willing to give them to you. Because let's say you pick up a load of ammonium nitrate, and you're 100 miles down the road, and you do stop and notice that one blew out. The likeliness of you finding that particular placard needed is not likely.
Right.
They don't really keep those placards on hand at a lot of those stops. So if you had one or two on hand, just keep a stack of them as you do these loads, and I think it'll be helpful moving forward. If you are in a position where one is missing, you have kind of an extra stash, you can put one in there.
Let's talk real quick before we get into personal conveyance, because I know that's probably going to be a good topic there. But is this just in the state of Arkansas that they're going to do this speed enforced cameras in construction zones?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we received that notice last week. But before our owner-operators, have a lot of questions, I do want you to know that it's speed-enforced cameras, but there still has to be an officer present to issue you a citation or a warning. So their reason behind it is they're going to position themselves out of those construction areas down the road a little bit, maybe a few miles out of the construction, but they're going to be monitoring cameras within that construction zone. It's going to be capturing speed. They're going to be looking at, dangerous driving, and it might be 5 miles down the road before you're pulled over for an event that happened prior, but they're not going to adapt mailing citations like you see in some of these smaller cities. When we get those sometimes, I know Carl pays them pretty frequently, but no mailed citations. They have to actually physically stop you, but that is going in effect.
When's that going in effect,
August 1st here in tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah.
August 1st it goes in effect.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if you'll be able to see the cameras, or it'll be, one of those things that you come up on, you're doing this speed. I don't know if it's a camera or not, but who knows where they'll be.
The article I read said that there'll be signage, camera enforcement area, so you'll, be made aware of the cameras, but I'm not really sure what they.
Well, I'm assuming the deal is to protect construction workers. Because,
Definitely.
I mean, we've had some, I know here in Arkansas, get killed by vehicles in construction zones. So I'm sure that's a big reason of why that's happening, which is a good reason. I mean, it needs to be. Construction zones are dangerous. People working right beside the road. I mean, you know, I've got, you know, my son has some friends that are in that kind of business, and, you know, they were at the house last night. And, you know, I think about that now, those 23-year-old kids out there trying to do their job, and, you know, cars just zipping by. So definitely that needs to happen. So
Yeah, it does.
don't be surprised if you get caught 5 miles down the road, you
Correct,
know,
yeah.
and wonder why if you're misbehaving in a construction zone. How about this personal conveyance? You know, I know there's a lot of y'all get a lot of calls on that,
Well,
Less calls and more misuse, I would say.
we get the calls after the fact.
or y'all do the calling,
Yeah.
going, "Hey, this ain't gonna work."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys want to give us some examples of personal conveyance do's and don'ts?
We can. I think that might be a podcast all for
Okay,
itself,
all right.
itself, though.
All right.
But
So you want to talk about just some of the
yeah, what we can do is the most we're seeing as far as PC misuse is if you run out of time and you're 10 miles away from the consignee or shipper or just where you're trying to get to, you're not able to just put it in personal conveyance and extend your day to get to that facility. Because the argument is you drove 4 hours leading up to you not having any available drive time. You didn't look for parking, you know, along the way. You kind of ran your 11 out, and then you just put it in a PC to extend your day. So that's one thing I wanted to mention, and everybody would be very clear on, is that if you're out of hours, you can't just put it in PC to extend. There's only one alternative to that, is if you're actually physically at the shipper or consignee and you run out of hours while you're there loading or unloading. There is a law now where you can PC to the nearest closest safe haven and start your 10-hour break whenever you arrive at the facility. That's going to be one of the only times, but that's kind of what I wanted to mention. Do you have anything else, Carl, without getting in the weeds on it too much?
I don't want to get too deep into it, but yeah,
but it's so much fun. You're going to. I mean, we just mentioned personal conveyance. There's going to be some weeds come up.
Yeah.
People are going to be commenting, but that's good. That's what we need. We need to be open communication here and understand. But yeah, we don't have to get too deep in it. But you may be right. It might be a podcast on its.
well,
on
it's
its
called
own.
personal conveyance for a reason. You know, it's for personal use. You know,
Yeah.
it's not. I mean, if you have to use it for company use, then you're not supposed to use it. You know, if you want to go to the gym on your off time, you can use it. If you want to go get something to eat, go to the movies, that's all personal reasons. So you're able to do that. You just can't PC to go home and things like that.
That makes sense. Yeah. Well, I'm sure y'all spend a lot of time explaining that, but once again, do we have much of the percentage of the owner operators mistreating that?
I don't know.
I
wouldn't think
I
overall.
would not overall, no.
No.
Most everybody you have a conversation with them and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know," and you never talk to them about it again.
Yeah.
You know, they understand. So
I didn't understand this one you put on here. We're coming up with a new system to submit MMRs within the TransFlow app electronically. You want to explain that?
Yeah, and that's kind of in the works. I just wanted to give our owner operators a little heads up that is upcoming. We're trying to move away from the hard copies of filling out your monthly maintenance report and taking a picture of a hard copy. You know, IT has been working with TransFlow to embed a monthly maintenance report link within their app.
Hallelujah.
You're going to be able to fill it out electronically. It's going to give you a tab for electronic signature, and then it'll give you a prompt after you fill out your report if you want to take pictures of your receipts from there. But kind of moving away from that hard copy more to electronic, but that's upcoming. No release date yet.
Come
but
on now.
expect that here soon.
That's been being worked on for years, trying to get that done.
Well, I can give Eric Peebles downstairs in IT a little shout out, but he's done a great job in developing it, and it's completed on our side. We're just working on embedding it within the TransFlow app, so it's a little bit easier to, be
That's
more
fantastic.
accessible on the owner operator.
Yeah. Everybody in that IT department's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be just like on the app, like they do everything else. They can go through there and fill out their monthly maintenance report, take pictures of the receipts, send them in, be done.
Yep.
We hope that's the plan.
Yeah. It should be on that main screen of your dashboard where your settlements and
Man,
your fuel network is listed out there.
That would be nice. And I know some of the people in the safety department would really love to hear that, that it's coming through electronically and don't have to get it done. And I'm sure dispatch would love that too.
Mm-hmm. A lot more convenient.
Oh, a lot more convenient. That's good. You said the girls had something wanted to remind everybody of?
Yeah, just a few things. Before I came up here, I just asked them if they wanted me to mention anything, and they wanted to remind you all to make sure to complete your physicals, and if you have any expired, CDL coming up, to make sure to do it at least 2 weeks prior to the expiration, because there's a nationwide shortage of DMV workers, so there's a lot of delay in getting physicals added to your CDL. So they just wanted
Certified.
to get it certified. So they just wanted to give everyone a heads up to not wait last minute, get it done. And as soon as you get the paperwork, don't hold on to it for 2 weeks until you send it to us, because there's a lot of processing that has to be done on our end. So just try to be sensitive and timely on that. Once you get your physical, just go ahead and send it in to Miss Ashley, and she'll get everything completed on our end.
She also wants them to, if they can, take it into the state themselves. That way, if they're there in their state and they're getting a physical done, just go ahead and go by the DMV, and get it put on your license.
Yep.
That way.
That's the quickest. If you're at home, if you go do your physical at home, then just run it by as soon as you get out of there, run it by the DMV and get it certified.
Yeah, correct.
Because, and actually that's still taking a little while, I guess, to get certified, depending on the state.
Yeah, it is.
Because we do it with all the new guys that come to orientation, take a physical, then Miss Ashley sends it off to their state and gets it certified. So we kind of have to watch and make sure somebody's physical not about to expire, and there's it expires before it gets certified with the state. Then there's a gap there. That's a problem. So we got to kind of watch for that too. But yeah, we've talked about that in the past. Prior to getting a physical, man, do it ahead of time. Don't wait till the last day to get it done, because then it's not like, all right, I come out of there and I passed, everything's good now. No, now we got to certify it with the state, send it to the DMV and wait on that to get done. And like you said, if there's a shortage of workers, that ain't going. That's.
I got to get mine done next month.
Do you?
Yeah.
Don't wait till the last day,
no.
Carl.
Yeah.
Go ahead and get it done.
Next month, yeah. And that's a day away.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Anything else you guys want to cover?
Allison wanted me to mention about ELD problems. So be sure to, if you're experiencing any ELD problems, if it's not tracking your drive time accordingly, just call in and report it to us as it's happening. Don't wait several days if you've noticed some malfunction of the unit. There's a lot of time-sensitive steps that have to occur in an event where a unit's not working properly. So, and she's trying to go through an unidentified driving report daily and keeping up with, assigning drive time that needs to be assigned to driver's log. So if you could just kind of, as you notice something not working properly, just give us a call.
I guess that happens pretty regular, or time to time, I guess, on it not working properly. Is there any big steps, any big things coming down the road on the safety department that we need to know about? None that I can think of. I mean, as far as not much changes other than what we talked about. It's great to be working in a safety department, in a recruiting department for a company like this that's got good owner-operators like this. Mm-hmm. Because could you imagine working in those departments for a bad company?
Oh, yeah.
That would be miserable.
I'd have a lot more gray hair, probably.
Oh, it would be miserable. I told the recruiters down there, recruiting department, we talk about it pretty regular about how, can you imagine trying to recruit for a bad company, does things wrong and don't care about safety and don't care about taking care of the owner-operator. And that's something here that, that I think a lot of, because we're blessed to have some good owner-operators here that take care of their business.
Yeah, we are.
And for us to be talking about some of these things that wouldn't call nitpicky things, but I would call, at least we're not talking about $1 million lawsuits, fatality accidents, rear end. We're not talking about all that stuff that plagues a company. At least, we're talking about this stuff that can be corrected.
Yeah.
And we know we got a bunch of good owner operators that can correct things and are going to take care of business and are proud to be Oakley owner operators.
Definitely.
And they want to keep their safety record just as clean as anybody else. You know, I mean, that's some of the things that I hear a lot when you're talking to a guy recruiting him on the phone is he's proud of that safety record. I mean, he is proud. He doesn't have any violations, doesn't have anything on his MVR. I mean, he's proud of that. So, and we got a lot of guys that are like that here.
We do.
And it really makes it nice.
I know JP's making calls. We got a lot of guys that hit their 1 million miles, so he's been making calls last week and
awesome,
getting their ring size and stuff.
Wonder how many we got.
Got a few.
We present that at our company party that's coming up in October, the 1 million milers, and recognize them. I bet we got a bunch of them.
Yeah.
I think we might even have some 2 million miles.
Yeah, I bet we do.
Yeah, a few of those as well.
Man, we got owner operators been here a long time with the company, so
it's a good company to work for sure.
We're fortunate.
We are fortunate.
Still on the first DOT number too.
Oh yeah.
So that's good.
3259.
Yeah.
00. Somebody said, no, you got to have more numbers than that. We're like, no, 3259.
all the time when I give our DOT number out. They're just waiting for
more numbers.
Yeah. No, that's it.
That's it. You have to put a couple zeros in front of it to fill in your screen. But that's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys doing this with me. And,
yes, sir.
and I
Thank
hope,
you.
It's good information for, not only me, but everybody listening out there too, to know where our safety department stands, some of the things that need to be corrected, and some of the things that are done right. And it just it makes a big difference to know that the owner operator has to buy into safety to work here, and has to buy into customer service, which they both go together. When you mentioned earlier about customer service, customers look at our safety rating to know whether to do business with us or not. That's a whole nother episode. But it just makes a big difference when the owner operators are buy into that safety and customer service. Everything seems to go smooth when you do that, when that's your priority. So all good. Thanks, guys. I appreciate y'all sitting down with me talking safety. It's good information for our listeners out there and our owner operators, and to give people that are not at Oakley a little insight of the safety department with Carl and Dustin and what they do every day. And it's not an easy job for sure. And they do it and committed to try to make this company better and keep our safety rating under the threshold. So, all right, thanks you guys again for joining me. I appreciate everybody out there listening to the Oakley Podcast. It just means a whole lot that you keep listening to this and that you share it with your friends and you tell everybody about it, because we love to have more truck drivers listening to the Oakley Podcast and get our name out there and what we do here at Oakley and our standards here at Oakley, and that we're looking for the best owner operators out there. So we appreciate it if you share the word and spread it once again. So thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week.